power that burns flame itself, the strength and power to melt islands themselves. Let's get into it. Like, there's a difference between straight line raw speed, like running from point A to point B type speed, or a being that can move his limbs really fast and fight fast. Those are two different kinds of speed, let's say. Kizaru is also an admiral in One Piece made of light, and he's considered one of the fastest characters in the show. And he's light speed by default, but that doesn't mean they're limited to light speed. So before I even really get this video started, other admirals that are kind of similar to when it comes to just hierarchy, one could say, they can literally throw a limb at light speed. When it comes to light speed attacks, characters in One Piece dodge this kind of stuff like it's no big deal, and they call it slow. Yeah, this is Luffy right here. He's dodging lasers right here in his base form. He has a higher form that makes him faster, stronger, blah, blah, blah. And he can dodge light speed attacks, and Kizaru can still match him. So they're faster than the speed of light by a lot. Which in turn, Akainu should by default be faster than the speed of light to even be able to keep up with the top tiers. He's the top tier in the verse. You see what I'm saying? In a world that has an absurdly large continent that goes around the entire world called the Red Line, a fantasy world where mermaids exist, so does underwater kingdoms, giants exist, creatures that can talk, a vast ocean, and in this big world, there's actually a world government and beings at the top that oversee everything. And in order to maintain order, this organization also has to be powerful. There's a lot of powerful pirates. It makes sense. And today I want to be talking about one of the strongest beings in the world government, in the Navy. One of the three admirals, Akainu. One Piece is the show that's the definition of size means nothing, because there's lower ranks than Akainu that are bigger than him when it comes to pure size, but Akainu still outranks him, despite these beings being way bigger in pure size. You see what I mean? Because when it comes to the ranking system in the Navy, in order to be a certain rank, you have to be a certain strength level, power level, and etc. Like they even talk about it here, Akainu is one of the Navy admirals, highest ranked fighters in the Marines, the Marines' greatest military force. There's a reason there's a lot of members in the Navy, but there's only 3 admirals, because it's kind of hard to become an admiral when it comes to power level. This being Akainu that I'm going over in this video is at the top of the food chain when it comes to the fighters and the Marines. There's a few reasons why he's so strong. One of the reasons being he ate one of these special fruits in this One Piece world that give you superpowers when you eat them. These devil fruits, Akainu ate one of these. It's because of this. It literally made him into a living magma man, basically. He can do all types of techniques with this magma ability, like gigantic fists. He can spam multiple of them from the air. Enhance his strikes with magma attacks and fist attacks. I mean, notice how in cases like this, you see weapons near his heat just melt. Make hellhound dogs out of magma. One could say magma construct. And if you're an ordinary human and you don't have his weakness, if you don't have a magma's weakness, you're not really going to be able to hit him, because he can literally become actual magma to the point where his body's like fluid liquid. So how do you punch somebody made out of magma? Either you have to use ice or water to counter heat like this, or this ability known as Haki, where it pretty much bypasses this devil fruit power and has invisible armor around the character's attack. One perk of your body being fluid and liquidy, when people shoot at you, the bullets go right through you. Trying to cut him in half won't work. He's a log gear. He's one of those characters that definitely lacks screen time, because he's not the main character, but he's still ridiculously top tier. Like, there's implications that he doesn't have to rely on straight magma all the time, because they have younger pictures of him in the show where he's holding blades and stuff. Implications that he has experience wielding a blade. I mean, or one could say hand-to-hand combat training. I mean, he has been in Marines for a while. Even back in his 20s, he's been a Marine. There's even film content, which might not be canon. It implies he has a sword on his back. He might have sword combat knowledge. And just by the way his physique looks, I think we all can agree that his physical strength has to be impressive. In the One Piece world, there's this latent energy every character has, but some don't learn how to use or can manifest it. Akainu is one of them people that can use this thing known as Haki, basically make his strikes a lot more potent, because he can put Haki or his spirit will around his fist to increase his punching power even more, on top of the flaming hot fist he can produce. Due to him being a vice admiral in the past, and he's currently an admiral, well, matter of fact, a fleet admiral, he knows how to use this technique known as Haki, because it's even confirmed in the lore that all Marines and vice admiral above know this ability as Haki, so he can definitely sense the presence around of others. Basically, one could say giving him super senses. Are we just going to ignore that he was able to hear Whitebeard talk from across the battlefield? This kind of shows observation Haki. Usually you see characters use this ability known as Haki. You see them have black around their fists. That's for our viewership. It's really basically just invisible armor, honestly. That's why when you see Akainu use it, you don't really see no colors change, because it's technically invisible. Pretty much prove he can do this, along with the other admirals being able to pretty much make an invisible barrier via Haki. It's a Haki. You can either do it around your fist, or you can even expand it to where it's even farther. It's latent power that everybody has. Get good enough with Haki, you can technically use it like an outward blast attack. So on top of his just muscle strength or physique, he can amplify his strikes with his inner energy to give himself invisible armor, on top of making his fists into flaming magma on top of it. When it comes to the top tiers in One Piece, whether or not you eat a devil fruit or not could really help your chances. But Akainu's devil fruit, for example, is one would call a Haki type of ability because of the heatish nature to it. What I mean is, when it comes to the top tiers, having a devil fruit by itself isn't just going to cut without any type of training or physical training or weightlifting or just strength in general, right? This is just a random example, by the way. Like these two random Marines, let's just say they're physically equal in every way, right? The moment this guy over here eats a devil fruit, he would instantly get the edge, especially if he eats like a log-eared devil fruit where this guy literally can't touch him anymore. But before he could, but now he can't because of the devil fruit. Then he will be able to win because of the elemental advantage he has. He could just burn him, for example. They can really be a game changer if you don't have Haki. But when you start getting into the Haki and being able to coat yourself with invisible armor so the elements won't hurt you, and thanks to this you can actually punch beings that are supposedly intangible, that's when a character actually needs to work on their Haki and their strength and overall ability, even if they have a devil fruit. That might not be an end-all be-all. A great example of this is beings like Smoker, who are literally made of smoke. Both of them having Haki, Virgo himself not having necessarily a devil fruit can still beat him. Let's analyze his strength. Don't get it twisted. He is an abnormally large human, so that could play a factor, but that's not all that played the factor because there's obviously beings that are bigger than him physically, but he's still physically stronger than him, right? I mean, if you watch One Piece, you know that the main character, Luffy, can punch really hard, and he's physically just ridiculously strong, right? I mean, even before the big 2-year time skip where he had training, he still showed superhuman feats of strength, like pushing apart entire buildings. You know, his best friend, his brother, basically Ace, Luffy admitted that Ace is stronger than him because he's still working his way up to Ace's level or whatever. So Ace may have the fire ability. He can use fire and turn into fire, but his physicals are pretty good too. And one could say this could give you Akainu's idea of strength, even though we know Ace should have the strength to push apart buildings too with his muscles as well. When Ace tried to punch Akainu, their punches and stuff clashed. This could be because Akainu's magma just burns his fire, or this could be a mixture of both, his fruit being better than Ace's and Akainu just being physically stronger. Because Akainu does bring up the fact that his Logia overpowers his fire. The way the anime portrayed it, the two fists clashed of these two. Ace got sent backwards. So even if we're not counting his magma increasing his destructive capacity by a lot, I think we can all agree it would be disrespectful to say he couldn't level a building without his magma. I mean, because physically speaking, there's Marines that are way down here in captain rank. Strong Marines, might I add, like Kobe. He's really strong for a captain. But even then, the fact that beings like him that are nowhere near Admiral rank like Akainu, without no devil fruit, might I add, they can still punch because of Haki and strength and put together and being trained in the guard, can punch mountainside structures or damage an island being, a being that's literally an island. Pretty much proving that even lower ranks in the Marines have the raw punching power or power in general to destroy mountains. Considering that Akainu's been training pretty much all his life, physically speaking, it just seems like he would be able to do something like this as well. Of course, with Haki, without necessarily spamming his devil fruit. So him having his average punches without necessarily spamming his magma can tremble mountains. He could definitely punch mountains apart with his bare fists. If you still have your doubts about his strength, what about Whitebeard, the strongest man in the world at the time? Even while old, he was still ridiculously strong. Akainu was able to stop an attack from him. Whitebeard is a being that can easily level an island. Akainu even admits it. Just to show you that he's not all his magma. This is like physical leg strength right here. You can just tell. His physical attributes in general, whether if it's his muscles or his durability, are all high end because look at this. Okay, Whitebeard, a ridiculously strong being, right? Got in a fight with like a lower rank than Akainu, a Vice Admiral rank, right? For example, Whitebeard overpowered these Vice Admirals. Might I add, these Vice Admirals were actually bigger than Akainu and Whitebeard. Yeah, these Vice Admirals that are super huge, Whitebeard treats them like a joke to the point I almost feel kind of bad for them. So they basically get one shot and one punch, right? And we don't see them again for the whole rest of the arc. But when Akainu gets hit by a super mad Whitebeard multiple times, I don't want to overhype Akainu, like Akainu actually did get knocked out though, but the part that's impressive is that the Vice Admirals didn't get back up when Whitebeard hit him, right? Akainu took an attack that was way more threatening than what those Vice Admirals took that did all this to this big mountain-sized fortress to the point the building was collapsing. Akainu was messed up. Akainu got hit by an attack that split the whole plaza in two. It shows that he's not like them Vice Admirals that stayed down pretty much the rest of the war. He got back up even though he was battle damaged. Not only can he still walk, even though he's hurt from Whitebeard's hits, this kind of proves that he's an admiral for a reason, messing up two strong beings from the revolutionary Ivankov and Azuma, and still having enough energy to chase after Jinbei, who's trying to save Luffy at the time. Even after all this abuse Akainu took and Jinbei attacking him, he was able to pretty much punch a hole through Jinbei with his hot magma punches. After this beatdown he took from Whitebeard, he's still messing up people. All these powerful pirates in front of him, Akainu, it doesn't matter. He can still get past all of this. Top commanders like Vista and Marco even strike Akainu, and he's good afterwards. It's really not until another Whitebeard tier being pops up to where the war basically stopped. You gotta give him some respect. He was able to melt a piece of Whitebeard's face off. Not to mention, we've seen him land an attack on Whitebeard that damaged him pretty bad too. Magma attack. One can say he has incredible blast power, thanks to his training and creativity on how to use his magma. I mean, we technically still don't know the limit of how big he can make his magma fist, but we know they can get ridiculously large to increase his striking power. I mean, we already know he can blast and make his volcanoes and things like that, and can spam magma fist through the air to destroy ships, basically proving he can one-shot ships that are this big compared to humans, which is something of course he should be able to do, duh. One of Whitebeard's crew members that threw this big old massive chunk of ice that was even bigger than giants. This can give an idea of Akainu's blast power, probably because of heat and a mixture of his punches too. He can just make a gigantic magma fist to punch through it. He evaporated it thanks to his heat and made volcanic rocks. Is it really surprising that he can blow away big things of ice that are bigger than houses? I mean, his fists here are like a freaking house. I have a feeling we're going to see some more Akainu. What do you guys think? How large do you think he can make his magma fist? You ever wonder what happens when two Admiral level beings fight? Ice Admiral, Aokiji, versus the Magma Admiral, Akainu. This right here is where it's pretty much stated the two Admirals were almost equal in strength. One man ultimately emerged victorious, and Akainu actually beat another Admiral. Yeah, he scarred and burned up after their fight, even lost a leg thanks to Akainu. To prove that they was equal in power, or close to equal in power, the battle lasted for 10 whole days. It sucks that this happened off screen. The aftermath of their battle pretty much did all of this, made a big old hole in the middle of it, of this island. One side being magma, one side being icy. Like, how does this work? They somehow permanently changed the weather of an entire island. Somebody explain to me how this works. Like, how does that even work, guys? Like, how does your duel of ice, ice and flaming magma-ish type stuff affect the clouds above permanently to where it's just snowing and stuff? Like, how does that even work? A duel that twisted the island's very climate, I think occasions like this pretty much prove that Akainu, if he wanted to, he can devastate an island if he really just wanted to blow it up or blow it away, because he actually got a win on such a powerful being. Remember Admiral level beings like Garp? He's a Vice Admiral, but he's an Admiral level being. Anyway, Garp, an Admiral level being, without no Devil Fruit powers, by the way, just because of Haki and super strength and stuff, can make an energy blast fist punch basically and wipe out a whole city or an island or a town at least. It's stated by a literal island person. There's a being that can become one with an actual island. You can fight an island basically. It's even stated, are you trying to destroy the island? Implying that these Admiral level beings can destroy an island. Aokiji got in a slugfest, because Okiji's not in the Navy no more. He got in a slugfest with Garp, and their punches clash. Appears it can blow away multiple buildings or a piece of a town or whatever, making a big shockwave clash, and they pretty much stalemate in this particular instance when it comes to punching each other. Yeah, this living island is alive, has mountain-sized hands. The fact that Okiji's that strong, the battle being that can level an island, Akainu, I believe, definitely could do so. He just lacks screen time, really. This is the kind of stuff Admiral level beings can do with their Haki blast. Do you think Akainu's Haki is this strong, even though we ain't got no screen time for him doing nothing like this? I'd say it's definitely in the realm of possibility. We know for a fact he beat Aokiji, though, off screen, and did all this to this island permanently. I definitely believe he has the Haki, if he wanted to tremble the entire island, or at least probably sink it. But why would he ever sink it? It would be stupid for him to do that, because then he can't swim in the ocean. So, but I think if he didn't have to worry about that, he could definitely sink it without even using magma. And if we're talking about adding magma to it, I don't see why he couldn't make some just gigantic magma fist or hand and have it engulf the island and just break it apart, landing on it and everything and just destroying it that way with a huge magma fist or meteor. I mean, look what Garp can do, a being that was slugging it out with Aokiji, and we know Akainu's beat Aokiji. These beings can harm literal island folks, like this literal being is literally an island itself. Not to mention ranks that are way lower than Admiral or Vice Admiral can damage island-type beings. Beings like Kobe, who dream on being an Admiral. He's not an Admiral yet. This guy's dream is to be an Admiral, and Akainu is already an Admiral. Technically, Akainu's a Fleet Admiral, a rank above Admiral. So you best believe if Akainu was in this situation, he would definitely be able to do major harm to this island being. If you're wondering if they're so powerful, why don't they just level the entire island? Well, they could, but there's a common little explanation that's been going on recently with One Piece character Admiral. If they go all out too much, they can destroy too much and put others' innocents in danger. Other Admirals talk about how it's impossible to fight in certain areas where it's populated with innocents that they don't want to hurt. Fujitora being another destructive admiral. If they go all out too much, they will turn the battlefield upside down. This could be the reason why we didn't really see the admirals go all out in the war against Whitebeard or something. He's got to be like dang near close to Yonko tiers, or it wouldn't make sense for the narrative. In the government, bounties determine a character's threat level or how much of a threat they are for the government. And it's not all about their combat abilities, but their combat abilities kind of pose some sort of ranking in their bounty. Like the 4 emperors are considered the 4 strongest pirates in the entire world. They have absurd bounties, for example. This kind of lets you know how strong Akainu is, because 2 years ago, you guys know about Blackbeard, one of the strongest pirates in the world, and the being that has 2 overpowered devil fruits. One fruit that nullifies powers when you touch him. The other fruit is Whitebeard's fruit, the one that can make earthquakes. Him and his crew, when Blackbeard found out Akainu was on the ship, he said he's not looking to get involved with that kind of stuff yet. Let me say that again. A character that has 2 devil fruit superpowers said, oh no, Akainu's coming, time to go. I mean, we've seen characters in One Piece that are way smaller than giants, one-shot giants with their punching power. Wouldn't it be fair to say that Akainu can do the same with his just muscle strength and just strength in general? Like these giants right here, for example, are confirmed to be a lower rank than Akainu, despite them being way bigger than him. Akainu's still pretty tall, but they're like 70 feet tall and stuff, and Akainu's way shorter. They have to weigh like something between 50, 100 tons or something that such. So it's a fair assumption to say Akainu can lift hundreds of tons. I mean, we know he's leaps and bounds stronger than beings like John Giant, even though he's bigger than him. We haven't seen him actually defeat a Yonko, but we've seen him do severe damage to a top tier like Whitebeard when he's old and sick, of course. This dude loves going for people's heads like he did to Kuma here with his Magma attack, damaging him to the point where Kuma said, I got to get up out of here. There's really just a lot of unknowns about him though. Can he do the famous Yonko stuff using Conqueror's Haki, like splitting the heavens or skies? That's like the #1 way to determine if a character's top tier nowadays. Who's to say off screen he didn't learn the famous Conqueror's Haki? You know the famous thing Yonkos do? When 2 Yonko tier beings or Conqueror's Haki users clash, they usually split the sky. Do you think Akainu's going to surprise us to where he has Conqueror's Haki, armor, infusion, to where his punches can split the sky like Yonkos? I don't like my videos to be too calc heavy. I'm more about the visuals more than anything. There's fan calculations that imply that being able to split the clouds like that in the way One Piece is, that it would take multi-continental leveling type of raw energy to be able to do that stuff like that via Conqueror's Haki coding, you know. And based on those calculations, that would imply he would be able to level smaller planetoids too, being able to level multiple continents. If that calculation is true, don't quote me, that's not my calculation. When it comes to Enel's destructive blast power from his devil fruit, there was these people that were just looking at the moon, minding their own business, and they saw an explosion at the moon and stated down here, the moon explodes. Like, what the heck? Obviously, the moon didn't explode. It was just a bigger wave of electricity that can be seen from Earth, which is crazy from Enel. Don't mind me. This is the same guy that can level an entire island at will, and he can level the entirety of Skypiea. He even stated here he's going to take out the entirety of Skypiea. An entire floating island. Somebody like Enel can do this. He's a lower tier, guys. Let's be real. Akainu's offensive power can level stuff like this if Enel can do it. I mean, he's a lower tier in the verse back then. But if we were to assume that Akainu can do whatever Enel can do, like make a gigantic explosion on the surface of the moon like this would imply that Akainu can do way more than just level islands. I'm talking about leveling countries, continents, that type of stuff. Other lower tiers in One Piece being able to do stuff like this implies that top tiers like Akainu, when it comes to huge explosions on the moon, on the size of planetoid type stuff like that would imply that he would have the raw power to level an entire country with his raw power, or with his offensive ability. Multiple countries should technically be able to fight. One could even say technically continents or even smaller planetoids. This gets really interesting to start thinking about because, you know, the moon, our moon, one of the bigger moons, there's actually other smaller moons. One could argue a One Piece character could be able to level a smaller planetoid like this. If somebody can cause a big destructive type of explosion on the moon this wide, like what would that kind of explosion do to like a smaller planetoid? You see what I mean? And if you still have your doubts about a kind of being able to mess up certain size, certain smaller planetoid, just remember he clashed with a being that with his devil fruit and Haki and everything put together, this being Whitebeard has the power to apparently destroy the very world. I know it's just a statement. We haven't seen them do it, but that's why I say the smaller planetoid stuff starts making sense when you look at stuff like this on Akainu, even though he's not necessarily equal to Whitebeard either. And I would like to mention he did lose, but he took bloodlusted attacks when Whitebeard was probably trying to kill him and got back up, even though this guy, Whitebeard, got statements of him being able to apparently destroy the world. So that's why I say that planetoid stuff, like how Enel can do that stuff to the moon, it starts making more sense when you start putting all this stuff into consideration. We've literally seen admirals actually face off against Yonko tiers or Emperor tier beings like Kizaru. Akainu can do this too, you know, by default. I mean, based on the recent stuff, it's pretty much shown that admiral level beings can hang with the top tiers. Even Luffy in his highest mode, for example, Luffy, that's an emperor level being. How strong do you think he is? How big do you think he can make his Magma fist? What new techniques do you think he's learned? I want to hear your thoughts below, but before I get going, I gotta say thanks for the donations, everybody. Helps out a lot. Respect Sakazuki. You gotta respect his might. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.